In every smoky bar from Bakersfield to Biloxi, there is a moment when the jukebox needle drops, the room hushes, and a song once ridiculed by self-styled tastemakers suddenly turns strangers into a choir. Old-timers pound the table, younger newcomers lift their phones, and the night crackles with the electricity of a tune the establishment tried to bury. Nashville insiders branded them gimmicky, corny, or downright sinful. Yet fans clung tighter every time a columnist rolled his eyes. Some records were trimmed for being too long, others were banished for lyrics that hinted at backroom dalliance, forbidden bottles, or a puff of outlaw smoke. But each dismissal only poured gasoline on the legend. Tonight we're walking the neon trail of those shabby masterpieces, hearing how moral panics, radio bans, and editorial scorn forged cult devotion. Keep listening, because hidden behind every jeer is a verse that refused to die. And the next rebel chorus might make you question who really writes the history of country music. So settle in, loosen that collar, and feel the rumble as we press play on the songs the gatekeepers feared the most. Our first stop is the late 60s, when polite society still pretended gossip didn't exist. Then Jeannie C. Riley marched into the charts with Harper Valley PTA, a 3-minute expose that named names and flashed figurative high heels at every judgmental neighbor. Newspapers clutched pearls, calling the single trashy pop masquerading as country, yet it sold millions in weeks. Bobby Gentry's Ode to Billy Joe arrived with equal thunder, a dusky story of bridge railings and whispered secrets that critics derided as confusing and macabre. Rumor mills went wild, claiming the record hid clues to forbidden romance, back alley pills, or worse, a fatal dive into muddy water. Instead of shrinking, audiences pressed the needle again and again, mesmerized by what was left unsaid. Not to be outdone, Johnny Cash strolled onto the Folsom Prison stage and introduced A Boy Named Sue. Reviewers sneered at the novelty rhymes, calling it carnival fluff. Behind prison walls, the roar said otherwise. Cash's laughing narrative about a kid saddled with a punishing name felt like pure liberation, and no critic could erase the cheers baked into that live recording. By the time the label shipped its 10th pressing, even the most cynical columnist had to admit the joke was on them. As the 60s faded, America argued with itself over war, long hair, and who could claim patriotism. Into that bonfire came Merle Haggard's Okie from Muskogee, a tune some hailed as a blue-collar manifesto, while editors at Rolling Stone mocked it as pander. Haggard later winked that he wrote parts with tongue planted firmly in cheek, but the debate only fattened sales. On the opposite end of the highway, Charlie Daniels unleashed Uneasy Rider, a shaggy dog hitchhiker tale that poked fun at barroom tough guys. Several southern stations yanked it, citing the portrayal of redneck brawlers as bad for regional pride. Listeners just cranked their car stereos louder. And then there's Marty Robbins' El Paso, a 6-minute gunslinger ballad so cinematic, DJs tried slicing it in half. Fans threatened to boycott until the full saga returned. Critics groaned, claiming attention spans would never survive a cowboy opera on AM radio. The public proved them wrong, memorizing every line about love, regret, and that fatal dash back across the border. Each pushback from gatekeepers turned casual curiosity into cult allegiance, sealing the song's inside barroom DNA forever. In hindsight, the controversy served as free publicity money could never hope to buy. By the mid-70s, Nashville was bracing for a weird new wave, and it rolled in on 18 wheels. C.W. McCall's Convoy combined rubber-burning CB slang with a rebel yell against speed traps, baffling critics who dismissed it as novelty trucker shtick. Yet the song bulldozed through pop charts, inspiring real-world convoys that jammed highways and fed the legend. Charlie Daniels followed with The Devil Went Down to Georgia, a fiddle duel so fiery that daytime television clipped the word hell, fearing gentle ears might melt. Kids memorized the solo anyway, rasping every lyric on playgrounds while parents shrugged. Then Ray Wiley Hubbard crashed the party with Redneck Mother, a beer-soaked anthem some reviewers deemed crude. Even his own mom allegedly caught flack from church ladies, which only boosted barroom sing-alongs. Hank Williams Jr. doubled down with Family Tradition, a shot-glass confession censored by select stations for its whiskey bravado. Fans simply switched dials until they found a signal brave enough to broadcast the uncut version. The louder critics complained, the faster jukebox quarters dropped, proving outrage is a marketing plan radio still hasn't mastered. Every bleeped syllable became a treasure hunt, and the hunt kept listeners coming back for more. Critics eventually tired of bar fights and looked for depth, yet when depth arrived, they called it dreary. Randy Travis released Diggin' Up Bones, a slow burn about rummaging through memories best left buried. Reviewers whined that it wallowed in gloom. Heartbroken listeners found a mirror and sent the single platinum. Years earlier, Farron Young chatted with his furniture in Hello Walls, a concept columnists labeled hokey. But every lonely soul working the night shift recognized the hollow echo of an empty apartment, and the record climbed. Tom T. Hall's Old Dogs, Children, and Watermelon Wine took a plain-spoken stroll through small blessings, deemed rambling and plotless by magazines chasing headline drama. Its gentle wisdom outlived those magazines. Billy Joe Shaver's gravel-flecked gem, I'm Just an Old Chunk of Coal, later popularized by John Anderson, was brushed off as too raw, as though polish ever sold a redemption story. Each of these quieter cuts proved that listeners crave sincerity more than polish, and that a critic's patience is not the same as the public's heart. When the chorus promised transformation into a diamond someday, thousands believed, sending letters saying the song talked them off dark ledges during hard nights alone. Jump to the 80s, where glossy synthesizers threatened to drown twang forever, and Dwight Yoakam countered with guitars, Cadillacs. Critics accused the track of sun-bleached nostalgia, but bar crowds erupted the instant that Bakersfield riff hit. Steve Earle then detonated format lines with Copperhead Road, fusing bagpipes, Appalachian moonshine lore, and a Vietnam vet plot so vivid some counties thought the song might incite bootleggers. Stations tucked it into late-night slots. Soldiers heading home adopted it as a victory march. Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard revived Townes Van Zant's haunting Poncho and Lefty, too slow and mournful for chart predictors. Yet its tale of betrayal and dusty regret seeped into every Roadhouse setlist from El Paso to Key West. Meanwhile, Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn's Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man dripped with chemistry critics brushed off as soap opera excess. Listeners weren't analyzing, they were busy two-stepping. Genre purists huffed, but the dance floor never lies. Each sonic curveball widened country's borders, showing that twang can share space with border ballads, Celtic phrases, and steamy duet banter, so long as the heartbeat underneath stays honest. And honesty, it turns out, carries farther on a busted speaker than any corporate algorithm could ever forecast. Some songs break rules with a grin. Jerry Reed's Eastbound and Down, born as a movie tie-in, was dismissed by elite reviewers as disposable marketing. Truckers treated it like a national anthem, blasting it through crackling CB channels while rolling past way stations. David Allan Coe swung next with You Never Even Called Me By My Name, a playful jab at Nashville cliches that critics misread as empty parody. In beer halls, it became a communal ritual, every patron shouting the final verse like a punchline they all wrote together. Reed doubled his mischief with Amos Moses, spinning a yarn about a one-armed Cajun who wrestles gators for fun. Program directors feared it glorified bayou chaos, yet teenagers from Maine to Montana memorized every swampy detail. The humor, the swagger, the sly wink, none fit neatly into industry molds, which is exactly why listeners latched on. Each playful tweak of tradition reminded fans that country music grows strongest when it refuses to bow, even to its own rulebook. In every dive where plastic ferns hang under neon, someone will still slap the bar and yell, "Turn that up," proving levity and rebellion drink from the same bottle every single night. Censorship squads could never decide what offended them more: lyrics hinting at clandestine flasks, or the fact that audiences dared decide for themselves. Jeannie C. Riley's record was briefly blacklisted in a handful of southern towns. Sales there exploded through back-alley record stores. Marty Robbins faced a different silliness. One influential programmer insisted the gunshots in El Paso would traumatize family motorists, so his station replaced the sound with a bland tambourine. Call-in lines jammed until the original cut returned. The tambourine version now survives only as a cautionary tale. Even seemingly harmless lines sparked anxiety. When Conway and Loretta traded steamy promises in Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, watchdogs worried it promoted excessive flirtation. Listeners translated that as authentic chemistry and requested it twice an hour. Hank Jr.'s references to raising a glass in family tradition drew ire from temperance groups that mailed pamphlets to stations. One DJ reportedly wallpapered his booth with the pamphlets, taking a photo that went viral in trade magazines. The campaign backfired so spectacularly that the singles B-side jumped into the top 40. Every attempted muzzle became free billboard space, and the songs traveled farther than the scolding letters ever could. Moral irony. What truly seals a cult classic isn't initial shock. It's the quiet relay from one generation to the next. Picture a scruffy bar in Amarillo, where a grandfather slides $1 into the jukebox and says, "Listen close, kid." That moment turns Old Dogs, Children, and Watermelon Wine from background hum into family heirloom. Years later, the kid boots up a streaming app, shares the track with friends on a late-night drive, and the cycle renews. Digital playlists have resurrected every outlaw anthem critics dismissed. TikTok loops now pair Randy Travis heartbreak lyrics with latte art, proving emotional resonance cares nothing for original packaging. Meanwhile, alt-country bands sample Steve Earle's Moonshine riff, layering trap beats underneath. Purists groan again. The algorithm shrugs and adds another million plays. It mirrors the CB radio explosion after Convoy, just faster. Each new technology becomes a torchbearer. Where print reviewers once sneered, comment sections now overflow with personal stories. Marriages proposed during Poncho and Lefty, final toasts made beneath neon while digging up bones spins. Critics cannot delete those memories. The share button outruns every column. In that chain of handoffs, the songs gain armor thicker than any gold record plaque. Academics eventually circled back, publishing thick papers that retroactively crowned these raucous hits, socio-cultural texts. Fans reading those abstracts chuckled. They already understood why Harper Valley PTA mattered. It wasn't feminist theory they were chasing, it was catharsis. When a small-town mom marched into a stuffy meeting and flipped hypocrisy on its head, listeners felt their own unspoken grievances crack open. The same goes for Okie from Muskogee. Scholars now debate satire versus sincerity, but a Vietnam vet hearing that track at a VFW hall didn't need footnotes. Music journalists puzzled over the modal riff in The Devil Went Down to Georgia, while teenage fiddlers locked themselves in bedrooms determined to match Charlie Daniels note for note. Down the line, that stubborn practice produced countless county fair champions and maybe even a future symphony chair. Controversy gave the songs oxygen at first. Lived experience kept them alive afterward. Once a tune touches a real milestone, first breakup, highway homecoming, wild Saturday, it graduates beyond critique into the messy library of human memory. And memory, unlike trending columns, refuses to be archived. It sings in showers, stalls in traffic jams, and lingers on dusty porch swings long after critics abandon their podiums. Part of the magnetic pull comes from rumor layers that still spark debate. Did Merle Haggard truly tweak Okie from Muskogee as a sly jest at rigid mindsets, or did he stand square behind every lyric? The conflicting interviews keep message boards alive. Bobby Gentry's Ode to Billy Joe hides its secret in plain sight. What exactly tumbled off that bridge? Some whisper it was a love letter. Others insist on a hush-hush bundle that could never be named on radio. Lack of closure invites endless campfire retellings, and each retelling breeds fresh devotion. Even novelty tunes hold mysteries. Was Coe's "You Never Even Called Me By My Name" a heartfelt taunt at Music Row gatekeepers or a clever hustle for royalty checks? Both answers feel right, which keeps bar debates lively long after last call. Legends grow wilder. A bootleg claims Jerry Reed recorded Amos Moses on the back porch of a Louisiana fish shack in one take, lightning bugs sinking to the beat. True or not, the mental image alone sells another round, and the story multiplies each time someone repeats it a bit louder. That elasticity of truth is folk storytelling's secret rocket fuel, forever. Cover versions broaden the mythos further. Punk bands have snarled through Poncho and Lefty at loft parties, swapping steel guitar for feedback, and the sorrow still lands. Bluegrass virtuosos race through "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" at double speed, daring each other to survive the solo. Hip-hop producers loop Dwight Yoakam's hiccuped "aha" from guitars Cadillacs, layering 808s beneath, turning a honky-tonk shuffle into a club banger. Each reinterpretation drags critics back to the same realization. Once a melody escapes into the wild, it can't be caged. Attempting to define genre purity is like stapling smoke. That hard truth rattled executives when Steve Earle's Copperhead Road cracked active rock playlists alongside power ballads. Listeners cared less about labels than adrenaline. Even the quiet tracks find new skins. Lo-fi playlists tuck Tom T. Hall's warm storytelling beside coffeehouse indie, letting his gentle rasp anchor study sessions worldwide. Today, a teenager in Seoul might discover Hello Walls through a viral meme, then rabbit hole into Farron Young's catalog, entirely bypassing the reviews that once scoffed. And with every unlikely mashup, the cult thickens. The songs adapt like hardy weeds, thriving in sidewalk cracks nobody thought fertile, waving defiantly at passing skeptics. So what does this jukebox rebellion teach us? First, that critics perform an odd magic trick. They warn people away, but their warning doubles as a siren call for curious ears. Second, authenticity outlasts fashion. Dwight Yoakam's retro twang sounded dated in 1986, according to glossy reviewers. Now it feels ageless, whereas many slick contemporaries gather dust. Third, the audience, not bloggers, not award voters, ultimately votes with repeat spins. Each replay imprints a memory, then another, until the collective imprint becomes canon. That's why Convoy, a tune about CB slang half the modern audience barely understands, still sparks karaoke tears of joy. And finally, imperfection wins hearts. Whether it's Cash missing a note while Prisoners roared, or the raw crack in Randy Travis's baritone when reaching for a sorrowful high, those flaws prove humanity. Listeners recognize their own wobbly edges and feel invited instead of lectured. Every time an advisor said, "This will never work," fans heard an invitation to decide for themselves. Keep that in mind the next time a headline shouts that a new single is ruining the genre. Maybe it's just planting the next cult seed. History shows those seeds sprout fastest in forbidden soil, everywhere. Tonight's spin through 21 beloved tracks proves one thing above all: cultural verdicts age like milk, while a chorus ages like bourbon. Songs mocked as novelty, condemned for length, or scolded for daring honesty eventually shrug off the rotten reviews and slip into the bloodstream of everyday life. They ride shotgun on midnight drives, echo from bar phones and soundtrack breakups, makeups, graduations, and last calls. Some sparked outrage by waving a rebellious flag, others whispered truths too tender for critics chasing headlines, yet everyone found its tribe. If you felt a chill remembering a dance floor moment, drop your story in the comments. The best tales might appear in our next feature. And if you discovered a new favorite tonight, share the link with a friend the experts would never expect. We're getting started. In our next episode, we'll trace the outlaw ballads' major labels shelved for decades, only to watch them explode on streaming charts after one viral clip. Until then, keep the dial slightly left of center, trust your gut over glossy opinion, and never let a raised eyebrow stop you from cranking the volume. Legends are born in that rebellious turn of the knob. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.